Lori's Craft Classes. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. You can find me pretty much anywhere. They will send out my email as well with the link. I use, to wire up stones, I use an 18 gauge non-tarnished silver. You won't find them in this biggest spool. It's just, I teach this all the time. This is my most popular class. I've literally taught how to do this about 1,000 times over. So I take an arm's length, about 36 to 40 inches of wire, depending on the size of the stone, but most of my stones range around the inch size. So they're about an inch big. I have a person out in Cambridge that sells me bins of stones so I can do them all. Okay, so I've cut my wire, and I'm going to start with this thinner one. And okay, so there's two ways. Now, when I normally teach it, I cut my wire in half and do a little weave for the spine. Let's do that one first. We'll do that one. All right, so I don't measure. I put my two ends together, sort of guess where the center is. Let me get in the frame and snip. Okay, and then I make an X in the center of the two. Okay, I'm going to hold it with my thumb and finger here, and then this side I'm going to twist it. So this one is going to be the bottom, this one will be the top at the next twist. So I'm not twisting one over the other, I'm twisting them at the same time. And all I want is about 1/4 of an inch. You see that okay? Send it to the darker face. And really, really tight. Okay, so this is going to be our spine. So I want to figure out which is the back, which is the front. I really like this bumped out piece at the front here. So I'm going to call that my back. Okay, and I'm going to hold the spine. Hard with the wire, it keeps moving. I'm going to hold the spine of it on the back with my thumb. Okay, I'm going to turn it towards you so you can see. I'm going to bring this one around the bottom to the back, and this one around the bottom to the back on that side. So I'm just wrapping them both to the back beside the spine. Remember, I'm going to do this 3 times, so don't worry if you get behind, we'll catch you up. So you cross them at the stone. The reason I do that is so I can get a better grip against the stone. And then you twist it, maybe 3 times. There we go. Pull them together like they're one and push it against the back of the stone. So I have the spine there, and then I have the 2 coming up from the bottom. And now I'm going to do the same at the top. So holding it together, I'm just going to wrap this around to the back, and you see it's slippery, so they're going to move on their own a bit. And your stone may fall out, don't worry. All right, so I'm going to catch that corner there, bring it down, and I'm going to come around to the back that way, bringing this one down a little bit more. Sorry, my husband just dropped something. And I'm just going to wrap it like so, bring it up. Now, when I bring this one up, it wants to pull everything. So I have to hold everything in place and bend that one up. So that's my basic cage, okay, encase the stone in the wire. Now I'm going to treat this set of 2 as one and this set of 2 as one. And at the very top, twist them once or twice just to get it nice and tight. Okay, now my stone's in there, but it's not at all safe. So I take my round nose pliers. Let me backtrack. The tools you'll need today are your cutter, round nose pliers, and a pair of flat nose pliers. Okay, without teeth, preferably. Okay, so now this is the magic part I like to say. You take your round nose pliers and you hold it flat against your stone, like so, and you twist. Oh. And if you start to feel it loosen, twist the opposite way. And it puts these lovely little lightning bolts in. Where are we? There we are. See the little lightning bolt? And that tightens our wire up. So just do that all around the whole stone. And the top one is a little tricky because it's just hugging that little tip of the stone really carefully. And so I'm just going to bring this down. So I'm just pulling my wire so that it hugs onto the stone better. And then I'm twisting. Whoop, and don't stab yourself like I just did. Okay, so I'm going to do the bottom one. See how these two are together? We don't want them together because that means it's really only one piece going around. So the bottom one, I'm going to twist that way. And the top one, I'm going to twist the opposite way. Okay, so it pulls one away from the other. And I'm going to do the same over on this side. And it'll tell you which way it wants to be twisted or needs to be twisted. You'll feel it as you're going. Okay, so that stone is in there. It's not going anywhere. And there is still a little wiggle there. Oh, I pulled it off the top when I moved it. Okay, let me try and rework this. This happens, you know, I've had some where you're almost finished the set and it moves. Now, if you get a little nick in your wire, take a paper emery board and buff it out after. I'm going to try and pull this wire down. This stone has a lot of weird little facets, so it's a little bit more difficult. There we go. So I pulled it over the tip again. Now I want you to take each of your 4 wires and just run them through your fingers. You can see the heat of your fingers makes the wire more pliable and it straightens out. So let's do this one. I'm just going to do it to all 4, one at a time. Okay, and the last one. Now I may have to put another piece of wire in there later because that tip does not want to stay on the tip. It wants to move, but we'll see. It may not need it once everything's done. All right, so I want these 4 wires close together, but straight one next to the other. I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I want to place it exactly like so. I want the stone directly under the pliers. I want the 4 pieces of wire as close to the little box part of the handle as possible, and the stone facing away from you. Okay, the front of the stone facing away from you. And then I just use this thumb and I push my wire straight out. Okay, just like so. And then I take the pliers and I place them like so. They were like this. We're going to turn them and put that wire back on the bottom prong. Okay, and roll it up, over, and down the other side. Okay, this is creating our bail. This is where our necklace goes through. There we go. Okay, so now we put the wire back on the bottom tine again, and we switch it to our non-dominant hand, so we have more control over the wire. You take one of your wires. I usually say the shortest of the bunch, but these are all about the same. And you start wrapping it around. This is anchoring our bail in place. And you go around and around and around. And if it gets too much wire, you can trim that little bit off. I'm going to try and keep going. Now you can use a little thinner wire, like a 20, that we're using 20 gauge. So you could use a 22. It's just not quite as secure, I find. If it's a smaller stone or has a delicate stone, then yeah, go smaller in the wire, thinner in the wire. Okay, so that's what we have so far. We have our bail where our necklace goes through. We have our stone encased in wire, and that top point keeps popping out. I'm not sure about this one. And you know what? I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to bring this big one around, okay? And I'm going to go down through the top piece. And I always keep my finger in the loop until I get it close to the edge. There we go. Okay, so I brought it through that one that keeps popping out, and then I'm going to take it down through the next one, one that goes across. So pull that through. Let me just get this in there properly. There we go. And I'm just making a little stitch. And I need to hold it closer to me. Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. Okay, and then I bring it back up. So you see I just stitched through to the bottom one and give it one wrap around the bail. And then we're going to twist that again, just like we did with the other one. We're going to make little lightning bolts in it, just to make it more secure and to make it match. So sometimes when you're almost finished, your stone will pop a bit. And that's all you have to do is just, if you can't rework it at that point, just weave in another little piece. Okay, so there we go. It's nice and secure now. I'm going to straighten that one out again. And we're going to pull it around to the front. Now this is a spiral. We're going to decorate it. So we take the tip of our pliers and the tip of our wire. Let me get it in place. Okay, so tip and tip, nothing sticking out the other end. And we make the tiniest little loop that we possibly can on the end. Just like so. Okay. Then we're going to take our flat nose pliers and we're going to hold them just like that. So it's nice and flat in there. We're not putting the pliers through the hole. We're just holding the piece of wire and we're going to just roll it down. So I hold it and I roll it. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just holding it nice and tight with the pliers, like so, and pushing my wire down. And then I reposition it each time. You can see I'm getting a little spiral. There we go. Now, once I have it that size, or a little bit bigger maybe for you, I just start rolling it with my finger and thumb. And I put that in front of there so it hides all our wire work. Okay, so next one comes forward, and I'm going to show you how to do a grapevine tendril. This one's a little tricky for some people, but if you watch closely, it's very, very simple. We put our wire in the back of our pliers this time with nothing sticking out again. And watch this motion. I turn, I release my grip and go back. I turn, release my grip and go back. The only trick to this one is to make sure that the tip of your wire is going towards the tip of your pliers and not towards the handle. And I'll show you that as I get a little bit further. So the wire that's being wound each time needs to be as close to the handle as possible. Okay, and I'm going to do one more turn and then move it. So now I'm just going to pull that one down a little bit. Get a good angle. There we go. It's a little grapevine tendril hanging down. And then we pull the third one around to the front and we do one of those two things. So I like to do a double spiral. So I'll show you the spiral again. I take the tip of my wire and tip of my pliers and do a tiny little loop. Okay, as small as you can get it. It may not be as small as mine, don't worry. And then I hold it in my pliers nice and flat, and all I'm doing is moving my wire. So I hold it and I move my wire. Oops, got me a little bit carried away there. And I move my wire. Just like so. So I'm repositioning it, so it's holding it steady, and then I'm just moving my wire down. And you can carry on with your pliers the whole time, or you can take it again, finger and thumb, and just roll it like so. And then I'm going to bring that one up, and I'll have a double spiral. Okay, that one's finished. The stone's done. It's ready to be hung on a necklace and worn. So let's try another one. This one is going to be a little harder because quartz is very slippery, rose quartz, and it likes to pop out of the wire the whole time. So I'm going to cut another chunk of wire. The spools that you'll get are little. Yeah, you won't get anything near this. This is 600 yards, I think. The ones that you buy in the store are 25 yards, I believe, if I'm correct. It's been a while since I bought a small one because I bought this one. All right, so we take our wire and we cut it in half. There we go. Excuse me. It's a little warm today, so I have to keep hydrated. I'm talking so much that it always gets this way. All right, so I hold the X in the center of the two pieces and I twist. It's like a candy wrapper. So you're moving one to the top, one to the bottom the whole time. Now I'm going to make my spine a little bit longer this time because it's a bigger stone. So I'm going to do about ½ inch. And I'm going to have it so that, all right, I'm going to show you something different. I'm going to have my stone like this in my pendant. Okay, so that point is going to be the top. So I hold it nice and tight. I take the two from this side and holding it all in place, I twist them maybe 2 or 3 times and I leave it. And then I go over to the other side and I move them up into the place I want them, holding them nice and tight, and I twist it a couple of times. Okay. So the only wire you're going to see on your stone when you're wearing it are these two little bits on the side. Okay. So we take this as one wire, this is one wire, bring it to the tippy top of our piece, like so. Get my hands out of the way, and holding everything together, twist it so it's nice and tight to the stone. See how it went right onto the stone there? All right, so now we do the little, we're gonna just sort of move those out of the way so I don't poke myself. We take our round nose pliers again and create those little zigzag lightning bolts. And just like so. Hard to see on the pink. Okay, so you can see the little lightning bolt. Not sure. There we go. I'm going to do it on the back as well. Ah, sorry. No need to be worried. I scrape myself quite often when I'm using my tools. It's part of the business. Okay. And this one's a little bit harder, so I'm going to go in around the bottom here. There we go. So if you're not getting a good grip on it at the side, go at the bottom. Maybe you'll get it there. Okay, so that one's in there so secure. We don't have to worry about weaving anything else in. And now we're going to do the relaxing part of smoothing out our wire. So when I teach this at Gem Expo, I teach it for an entire weekend, 3 times a year. And I just sit at a table in the foyer of the Gem Expo, and people come by and they pay their fee and they learn how to wire wrap a stone, and they get to take it away with them. Or if they bring their own, they get to wire wrap theirs and they get to choose one of mine to take with them. But I teach it, I've been teaching it about 4 years there. So over the course of 4 years, that would be 12 times I've taught there. And I teach about 70 people each time, so you can imagine. And that's only the one venue. Okay, so to create our bail, we have to decide which is front, which is back. I don't think it matters with this piece. So again, we put our 4 wires so that our stone is directly under our pliers, and the 4 wires are 1, 2, 3, 4 beside each other, as close to the handle as possible. And we push them straight over with our thumb, and then we move our pliers so they're in the opposite. Instead of being like this, we're going to have them like this. We put it back in on the bottom and we push it up, over, and down the other side. And you can see how neat and tidy they are because I made them nice and tight together. Then we slide this back on the bottom tine and we switch hands. This is where we need our dominant hand to be free. And we take our smallest one. There is one that's quite a bit smaller. And we just wrap it around. And you try and go as neatly as possible all the way down that bail. But remember, we can always hide it afterwards. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I think I'm just as good with my left hand as I am with my right at this point, but I still teach people to switch their hand. Okay, so if you end your wire at the back, trim it to the side, because if it's at the side, you're less likely to get it poking you or scraping your clothes or anything. There we go. Barely even tell it's there now. Okay, so this is a very pretty little piece. I really like how it's laid on its side instead of straight up and down, and it did make it easier. I won't lie. All right, so now we're going to do a spiral. Now with the spiral, you have to sort of judge how big you want it before you start. I'm going to maybe, you know what, I want it big. I want this one to be big because I want it to cover all my bail. So I'm going to start at the end of my wire, tip of my wire, tip of my pliers, make a tiny little loop, okay, just like so. Then I take my flat nose pliers, I hold this, and I move my wire. You can see I'm just pushing this wire down, and then turning the pliers and pushing the wire down. I hope you can see that really well. I know it's hard to see on camera as well as it is in person, but all I'm doing is I will grip it again, so the wire's at the top, and then move the wire down. And grab it and twist, okay? And then roll it. So this one's gonna be a bit bigger than the others because we had a lot more wire, but I have a long neck bail on this, which I didn't really want. Just happened that way because of the twist. So I'm going to cover the long neck bail with a large spiral. You can see it is quite big. Okay. Now, if you don't want any decoration on your stone, then you just trim off those wires. But that actually looks really good. I think if I put a second spiral here, we'll be in good form. So I'm going to do another one the same size. Maybe a little bit smaller. I'll trim off a couple of inches. Don't want them to be matchy-matchy. All right. So tip of your wire, tip of your plier, do a little loop. And I'll show you with this one, the third one, how to do that spot, the tendril again. But I'm going to trim it off because I don't want it on this one. All right. So let me see if I can see this in my camera. Put it in and push my wire down. And then move it so the wire is straight across. Push it down. So the wire is straight across, and I'm just pushing it down towards my plier handle. And just keep going like so. There we go. Okay, and then you may have to do it a little bit more than I do. Now you have to understand my fingers are used to bending metal, so they're a little bit stronger than average. You may have a harder time bending the metal, so don't worry about it, just use your tools. I don't like to use the tools when I'm twisting, when I'm first doing the spine or the cage of it, because it can weaken the metal. So how's that? I think that's kind of cute with the two spirals. So I will show you how to make the grapevine, but I am going to trim it off. So this time we're using the back of our pliers, and we don't want anything sticking out. And it's simple. You turn, release your grip, and go back. Turn, release your grip, and go back. and you'll see my wire that I'm winding is at the back. If we do it the other way, then it makes a cone shape, and you really have to know how to trim it, because otherwise you'll end up with a lot of a really tight cone. All right, so there's our spiral, or sorry, our tendril. Okay, and you can open it up like so. I'm trying to get it a good shot here. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to trim this off, and I'm going to show you the cone that I was just talking about. So if I do it wrong, so let me put this in here, you still have that. And I'm going to have the wire going towards the new part being woven towards the tip of my pliers, okay? And you'll see, because it's getting on the smaller part each time, it becomes a cone. And now when I'm getting up near the top, it's getting harder and harder to wind because it's getting into the smaller part of the pliers. It is very cute, little cone shape, but it's more difficult. I think I might leave it on there though. Move it over to the side. There we go. So that's the second one done. We should have time for 4 today. I had a third rock. There it is. Okay, so this one is a really pretty one, and I don't know what I want to do with it yet. We put straight up the side. Okay, so this one we're not going to use a spine. We're going to do 2 side pieces. So I'm going to cut a nice chunk of wire. I don't need as much because this one's smaller, but still about 36 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to trim it in half. And instead of a spine, we're going to have a base. So it's going to go across the bottom here. And you can really only do this with really fine, thin stones. Or really thick ones, it's hard. Yeah, you can. It's just not as easy. All right, so I'm going to twist it. And I'm going to do about 1/8 of an inch again. Okay, like our usual. Can you see that okay? There we go. I like having the wood cabinet behind me because I can hold stuff up and you can see it better. All right, so this is going to be along the bottom here. Let me just move my wire around so I can show you a little better. This is similar to what we just did with the bigger stone. Okay, and this one comes up that side. That's how I'm going to do it. And then we'll cross over at the top. So let me hold it in place and we can get the first one done. So I just bring it up so there's a little bit poking out, and then I twist it. And I only want to twist it a couple of times and push it against the face of that rock, the side. Okay, and then I go over to this side. There's a real gap there. Hold on. If you have a gap, just push it against something hard, tabletop, anything you have handy, and you can get the gap and the wire out. All right, so you know what? This one, I think I'm going to go up and across here. So I'm just choosing where the stone, where the wire is going to go. I'm going to go over the other side, cross it at the stone, so we get a good tight weave, excuse me, and pull it up. Okay, so we don't have it going up this side. We sort of ended up with it on the corner, just how it wanted to go. All right, so I have this as one and this is one. We're going to bring them to the tippy top and make a little twist. Okay, so that's the basic. It's captured. It's kind of pretty. Such a nice little stone. And then I take my round nose pliers again, placing them straight up and down, and I twist. Okay, and you're going to twist quite hard. Try not to slip because then you get nicks in your wire and you have to buff them out. Okay, So this one needs to go the opposite way of what I tried because it started to feel looser. And you'll understand what I mean when you start twisting. You'll see that sometimes it just feels like it's getting looser and sometimes it's getting tighter. It's a hot one today. Okay, so the bottom ones do the same. And that one too. I went against my instinct. My instincts were to twist it one way and it wanted to go the other. Okay, and there we go. So that stone is in there and it's not coming out. Okay, so our next step is to smooth out our 4 wires. And I know it's very hard to follow along on this with me because I do go fast. And it's part of the problem is you have to, or else your stone keeps falling on you. You know, you have to keep going one step after the other, or else it gets really difficult. So I think I'm going to leave it so it sticks straight out. I don't know. Should I have it on the side? Okay, folks, give me your opinion. Should I have it so it's worn like that against the skin, like there, or like that, so it sticks out? Okay, so 1 or 2?
I think Let's 1.
1?
1.
Okay.
Yes,
Doesn't
1.
matter. Sorry?
1.
Okay. All right.
1.
So
I like 1.
Everybody. All right. So we put the 4 wires in so they are closest to our handle and our stone is directly under, and we push that towards the front. The reason we don't push it back is because you'll end up scraping your face. Okay, and then we turn our pliers so that this angle instead of the other, and we have it on our bottom tine. We roll this up, over, and down. And then we have it on our bottom tine again. Switch hands. We take one of our smallest ones and we wrap it around and try and make it as evenly wrapped as possible. This one, I don't want any adornment. So I'm making this just as perfect as can be. And I will show you once I'm done. Okay, I'm going to trim that little bit. Okay. And you can see how tight those coils are. There's no gap between them. This is how they should all look, but some of them I don't care because I know I'm going to cover them. But I don't want all the spirals and everything on that. I think that's just a beautiful piece the way it is. So I'm going to trim everything off. But you need to learn. So I'll show you. Tip of the wire, tip of the pliers. Okay, and make tiny. I finished myself. I'm really doing damage today. Everyone that has done classes before with me knows I don't normally do that. Okay, now we put it in our pliers so they're flat. And we pull our wire down. And we move. And we grab it and pull our wire down. And get it in and focus. Okay, and we just keep doing this. If your pliers are slipping, try to grip it as tightly as you can. If they're still slipping, try a pair with teeth. Excuse me. But know that if you grip it too hard, you're going to end up with teeth marks. And then we're going to roll this. All the way up. Now you can also, I will show you a couple other things just because we have lots of time and I'll be able to do at least one more stone, probably 2. Okay, so I'm going to just set it there for now. Excuse me. Oh, it's so humid today. All right, so I'm going to pull one forward and I'm going to do a wacky thing. Okay, that's the only way I can describe it. I take my pliers and I twist that way, and then I twist really tight this way. And then I grab it and I twist it over here a couple of times. And then I do a big twist using all points of my pliers so that I get big loops and small loops and medium-sized loops. Just all these little loops. I'm going to trim off that end piece, that end little bit. And I just keep doing this along the length of my wire. And do a little one right in there. Okay. And then you can lay that in front of your stone. Really hard to see with the quartz, but I'm gonna let's see if you can see it better with the black. Yeah, you can see it a little better. So I've just made all those little loops and twists and turns and laid them against the stone. I pull it off and hold it like so. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay, so it's just a bunch of little curls and twists and nonsensical stuff. So I'm going to trim that one off. I don't normally teach that one in my class unless we have lots of time left. All right, so I may leave that one. I'm not sure. We'll go over and we'll do the spiral again. So end of the wire, end of our back of our pliers, nothing sticking out, and turn, release, and go back. And that's all we do. And you can see, that the end of my wire is going towards the tip of my pliers. And I just keep doing this. If you know what a ratchet is, this is a ratcheting motion. So with a ratchet, you're twisting, you're releasing, going back, same thing. And you can see how nice and tight they can look. So that one is nice and tight. I'm going to leave it on there for now. I'm going to do one more turn. And it really doesn't matter which way my pliers go in for the final turn. It's the final one. Okay, so there it is on the side. And we're going to set that one down. So that's number 3. I think I'll do some more rose quartz. They're a little more difficult because they're slippery, so I think you get to see a bit better. Any questions? Good. Trying to find one that we haven't really done a shape of yet, but they're all pretty close here. That one's more of a round. The rounder the stone, the more difficult it is. Now, some of the amethyst, I think I've seen part of it, but I had raw amethyst, and it was the easiest thing in the world to wrap. Oh, here's a chunk at the bottom. I buy my stones by great big bins. The ladies that sell it to me go through and make sure that they're all of a certain size. Okay, so that is raw. That one has not been polished up. It's just a beautiful piece. So we're going to do this one. And I'll show you all these little crevices. There's a nice flat space there. All of these crevices, it holds the wire and just grips so tightly. So it is very pretty. Vera took this class at my home before the pandemic. So you took this one, didn't you, Vera? This one and the Celtic weave, I think.
I did, and I learned something new every time I watch you.
Oh, good. That means I don't tell everybody everything each class. Oh, no. All right, so cut your wire in half and form an X and twist. Okay, and we're going to want a little bit here because it is a bigger stone. So I'm going to do about ½ inch, or sorry, about ¼ inch. And I think that white point should be up at the top like a snowy mountain. So I'm holding the spine at the back, and I'm just going to wrap, we'll call these the legs. I'm going to wrap the legs around at the bottom and take them to the back. and then I cross them at the spine, and I give it just a couple of twists, and then I want this to lay against the stone, okay? So these two come up in between the two arms, okay? The two arms come off the top of the spine. The arms wrap around the top to the back, just like the legs did. Cross them, and making sure that the two pieces that we brought up are on the inside of these two, okay? It's not a really important distinction, but it just helps. Okay, and then you push that up to the top. So now I have my two sets, and my stone is nicely secured. I just take these two as one and one and twist a little bit. There we go. Okay, I want to move those out of my way so I don't poke myself too much. And I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, and I'm going to start twisting. So again, you just grab one wherever. Now this one I'm going to twist downward a little bit, and the one above it I'm going to twist a little bit up, just so they're separated. So this one is going to pull down as I'm going, and this one's going to go the opposite way. And I'm going to do a little twist on the other side here, just to pull it down even more. And a little bit there to catch it. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do the same at the bottom. You see how they cross? So I want to keep them crossed because it's a nice little element. Ooh, I pulled it too hard there. So let me fix that. All right, so this one really wants to move itself around. We're going to let it a little bit. And then this one we're going to tighten up nice and tight. So there we go. Nicely in there, it's very secure, but you see most of the stone. That's what we want. We want to be able to see the stone rather than the metal. The metal should just be a little bit of a sidebar. Like with this one, you don't really see much of the wire. You see the stone. And because we chose silver with it, you know, it blends so much. This one, the wire is almost non-existent on it. Okay? And even this one, we just have top and bottom. So this was a semi-polish. This was polished, but it seems very rough still. Okay, so there we are. Now we do the four fingers. I like to call them four fingers or four sisters, just like really tight together. And just smooth them out with your fingers. If you have the little wire straightener, you can use it, but I just find it's pulling too much. You have much more control with your hands. All right, so put them all together. And we're going to take our round nose pliers and place them in so that our stone is directly below our pliers. Our wires are as close to our handle as possible. The reason we do it over here is so we get the biggest loop we can on our pliers for our veil, because you don't want it to make this and then have it so the necklace doesn't go through it. All right, so push them straight over. These are facing this way, and now we're going to turn them so they're facing this way. Roll it up, over, and down the other side, and then turn them so it's back on the bottom one. And switch hands. And you can just let it hang there and relax. Okay, and then we take our smaller wire, we bring it around and around and around. Now this one, I know I'm going to cover the wire work, so I'm not as fussy about it. It is going on perfect, but I'm not thinking too hard about it. And when I trim at the side so it doesn't catch on things if there is a little bit of a bite, which you shouldn't. You should be able to get it trimmed and tucked. There we go. So I can't really feel that. Okay, so there's number 4. All right, so you bring one around at the top, and we will do the tendril first. Nothing sticking out the back of the end of our wires at the back of our pliers, and we turn, release, and go back. And it's just a very simple motion. Now I have it so that the wire was the wrong way. So I'm just backtracking a tiny bit and just keep turn, release, and go back. When I learned how to do this years ago, I learned on a bamboo skewer, but you had to hold that bamboo skewer in your fingertip and hold the wire on. And so you end up with like poke holes in your fingers from the wire holding onto the bamboo. So one day I was teaching, I realized I could just do it with the pliers. Okay, so I want to trim off that end little bit, just so there's nothing there. Now, if it's a little bit pokey at the very end, you take your pliers, the tip of your pliers, and you grab the end of your wire and you just twist and sort of push it up into the spot, into the tendril. So it's up inside there now. It's not going to catch on anything. Okay, bring one forward and we'll do the spiral. This is my favorite one. So we start with tip of our wire, tip of our pliers, make a tiny little loop. And then we take our flat nose pliers and we hold it in there flat and move our wire down. And just keep doing that motion until it gets big enough for us to turn with our finger and thumb. I have to keep looking at the camera to make sure that you guys can see it and I'm not just holding it close enough to me. Okay. All right. And when I'm rolling it with my fingers, I like to make sure every couple of rolls that it is nice and tight, because you can, roll it and realize that you got a gap there. Yeah, just go back and re-roll that part or ignore it. Yeah, rocks are organic, and if you have a little mistake on it, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's it so far. This little tendril ended up being at the back. It wasn't big enough to move around, so I'm just going to trim that off. I don't like the look of it. Okay, there we go. And there is a little chunk of wire there, and it doesn't want to trim properly. Let me try one more time. There we go. All right, so it's still poking out a little bit. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and just squish it in a little. And that should be all it needs. There we go. Now it's not sticking out. We have one last piece, and I'll do a spiral. You can tell I like double spirals rather than the tendrils. The tendrils are fun, but I like the double spiral where they overlap. Okay, tip of the wire, tip of the pliers, tiny little loop, and then we hold it flat in our pliers, like so that it's going across the top, and we push the wire down. And then we move it, so it's going across the top again, and we push our wire down. You can see it flip there, because I wasn't holding it tight enough. Push the wire down, go to the top, push the wire down. I hope you can see it well enough on the camera. There we are. Okay. And then I'm going to grab it and just start rolling. Now, if you decide you want a smaller one, you can unravel it and straighten the wire at this point still. It's not really that difficult at this point. We're not hammering it, so it's not work hardened. Okay, and there we are. There's the finished piece. So we have about 10 minutes left. I don't know if I really have time to do one more or not. So why don't you ask me any questions? Okay.
Hi.
Vera, you always have questions. Come on.
It's only my
Yeah.
second class. How can I always have questions? And aren't we supposed to be asking questions?
Yes, I'm teasing.
Sorry, it didn't come off that way.
Oh, sorry, hon.
So I have some unusual, very thin slabs. And I
Okay.
just wondered if you, and by the way, last class I could barely get a question out. So I don't appreciate that at all.
Sorry, is that Vera that comes
This is
to my
Della.
class? No, it was Vera, I said, honey.
Fair enough.
Okay, Vera
I was
comes
the
to my
I was
class.
the only one talking at the time, so
Oh, I apologize. No, Vera comes to my class at my home. We're friends. That's why I
She-
said it.
She meant me,
Okay.
sorry, because I always have a million questions.
okay. Well, like I
Always.
say,
Okay.
it certainly didn't
Sorry,
come across that way. So in
Oh.
future, think about that. So to my
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
I have some very thin slabs, and I wondered if you have any suggestions as to how to adapt the technique to work with these.
What are they? Do you
They're
know?
various. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, so a geode quartz type
Yeah,
thing.
various
Yeah.
ones from a rock and gem shop,
Yeah, okay. It's just if they were,
and they're polished on the outside.
so if they were a slab, it could chip off, but those are fine. That's why I was asking what kind.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can do it so that you have the spine going up the back, and you just go around the bottom and around the top, same thing, but you have the flat surface at the front.
Okay. Yeah, because it's both, it's polished both sides. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so exactly the same technique, but you would use the spine just specifically here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else? I'm trying to see everybody on the little screen, so.
You can also put little spirals to make it like a decoration on the front to make it pretty. On the flat stone.
Thanks, Cindy.
Good idea.
Yeah. Now you can also do just, okay, so make a gap in the two wires. So wire a little bit here, a little bit here with a gap, like a little circle at the bottom. Slide your stone into it, pinch it nice and tight. Have the two wired pieces going up the side, and then at the top cross over,
Okay.
and then have it come either side, front and back, to the top. So you can wear it either way.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
What kind of chain would you put on, like the necklace part?
I like leather
Oh, okay.
because it's a rock and the leather, they just seem to go together well.
Okay.
I have a huge chunk of amethyst. It's the size of my thumb. It was given to me by one of the miners up in Thunder Bay. And I have that on a sterling silver chain, but it's, big.
Right.
Now, he also gave me a couple of nice pieces that I want to make earrings of, but I have to use a thinner wire
Okay.
because it's not like this type of amethyst, it's bumpy. You know how you get the pebbly, almost grape-like amethyst?
Right.
They're like that. So I don't want to break off any of those little points.
Right.
So I would use a thinner wire, and that way, excuse me, and that way I won't break it, and I'll be able to make earrings. So I also had a gentleman in one class who took a big rock like this and made himself a ring.
Ooh. Wow.
So he wire wrapped it, and then the 4 pieces he brought around up to one side, up to the other, and wrapped them around like a ring.
Oh, kind of neat.
It was huge, but he loved it. So you can do a lot, but it's mainly capturing the stone. Once you have it in a capture, you can do pretty much anything with it. The other thing, and I didn't cover this, I like to spread my bail open a little bit into like a W, because then if you see it on the chain, it looks more professional. Try and hold it up.
Mm-hmm.
Opened it up a little bit. Because you see bails, they're usually like this, not straight.
Nice.
Okay. And just scanning through. And was anyone able to follow along today? I know it was a difficult class for that, but
Yeah, pretty much. I'll probably will receive the video, like the recording afterwards again.